Chapter 2695 delves into the dark turn of events for Carrie Newman as she faces a terrifying ultimatum from Mr. Lab. The chapter begins with Mr. Lab laughing heartily before issuing a chilling ultimatum to Carrie. He makes it clear that she has no choice but to comply with his demands. If she refuses, he threatens to silence her permanently. His men, a dozen in black, stand ominously as a reminder of his capability to follow through on his threats. This stark choice between compliance and death leaves her in a state of utter fear and helplessness. Faced with the threat of a painful death, her survival instincts kick in. She slides to the ground, kneeling and begging for her life. Her desperate plea underscores her vulnerability and the dire circumstances she finds herself in. Mr. Lab's response is to physically overpower her, lifting her and taking her to another room. Her lack of resistance illustrates her realization of the futility of fighting back in her current situation. After an indeterminate amount of time, she emerges from the room, visibly shaken and filled with tears. Her eyes reflect a deep seated hatred, not just for Mr. Lab, but for those she already despises Serenity and Cameron. This shift in focus of her resentment shows how Mr. Lab manipulates her emotions, directing her anger towards others rather than himself. He comforts her in a twisted manner, wiping her tears and offering her money, further deepening her sense of violation and helplessness. Mr. Lab attempts to soothe Carrie with material incentives, handing her a bank card with $2 million and reminding her of the cash he had previously given. This gesture is meant to bind her further into his web of control, using financial dependency as a tool of manipulation. Her acceptance of the card, albeit reluctantly, signifies her begrudging acceptance of her new reality and the start of her coerced alliance with Mr. Lab. He outlines her mission to approach Serenity under a new identity, gain her trust, and build a relationship with her and Sony. The objective is to become close enough to Serenity without arousing suspicion, ensuring that any harm inflicted would be indirect and calculated. Her task requires her to befriend and manipulate, a strategy that Mr. Lab believes will be effective given her personal vendetta against Serenity. Further complicating matters, he reveals his interest in Titus, the adopted son of Jane, the eldest mistress of the Johnson family in Annenberg. Titus, who shares a close bond with Sony, becomes an integral part of Mr. Lab's plan. She is instructed to find a way to kidnap Titus, thereby leveraging her position to facilitate Mr. Lab's ultimate goals. This revelation indicates the broader scope of the conspiracy and the high stakes involved. As Mr. Lab's plans unfold, she realizes the full extent of the trap she has fallen into. She understands that her hatred for Serenity has made her an easy pawn for those who wish to harm Serenity through indirect means. Despite her previous animosities, she is now painfully aware of the intricate and dangerous web of intrigue she is caught in. This acknowledgement marks a turning point in her character as she grapples with her new role and the moral compromises she must make to survive.